Today our lesson will be on Chapter 3, Lesson 3, which is Multiplying Decimals by Whole Numbers. So right now, could you please open your textbooks to page 193 and make sure you have your pencil and highlighter handy for any work that you need. Alrighty, so looking at page 193, bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants. It can grow about 4.9 feet of height in a day. It is a favorite food of panda bears. You can use repeated addition to find the total height of the bamboo plant can grow over a number of days. Complete the table below. The first one is done for you. So go ahead and finish the table and try to answer questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then turn on the recording to see if your work matches mine. So if you filled in your chart, you'd have put in all of these 4.9s, and when you added 3 of them together, you would get 14.7. So that would be the same as using the shortcut of multiplication of taking 3 times 4.9 and getting 14.7. On line 4, if you have 4 groups of 4.9, that's the same as saying multiply by 4, and we get 19.6. And if you took 5 groups of 4.9, you're going to get 24.5, which is the same as 5 times 4.9. So using the pattern in the table, I could predict that we'll take the 24.5 and we're going to add to it 4.9, and we're going to get 29.4. So looking back at these exercises, compare the number of decimal places in each factor to the number of decimal places in the product. And how do you determine the placement of the decimal point in a product? Well, if you noticed, on each and every one of these, there's only one digit in the product. The product is our answer. And in each of our factors, there was only one decimal place as well. So when we use repeated multiplication or repeated addition, or when we multiply, all we have to do is count the number of digits in the decimal, and that's how many will have to be in our product as well. So using repeated addition can help you place the decimal point. Notice I've changed to page 194. The whole number represents the number of times the decimal is used as the addend, and addend are the pieces that are added together. So place the decimal point in the product the same number of places from the right as the decimal factor. So let's take a look. Looking at example 1, we're going to start off with an estimate. 4 is a nice number as itself. We'll leave it as is. And if we are rounding to our greatest place value, the 8 is big enough to push the 0 to a 1. So our estimate is going to be 4 times 1, or 4. So then I would suggest, let's do this over on the side, we could take and add 4 groups of 83 hundredths together. We could stack them up. But an easier way will be just to simply ignore the decimal points and take out the whole numbers. Up here I see 83 and I see 4, so I'm going to multiply them. So 3 times 4 is 12. I carry the 1, and 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 more is 33. Now I'm going to go back and take a look at my original problem. I'll do some cleaning up here so we can see it. How many decimal places were there? There was 1 digit, 2 digits behind the decimal. There were no digits behind the 4. So we need 2 decimal places. So I need 1, 2 decimal places. So the decimal has to go between the 3 and the 3, because 3.32 is very close to our estimate of 4. If I had taken 3.32 and put the decimal back here and put 2 decimals, 33 is nowhere near my estimate of 4. If I left it off my number, 332 is not near my estimate of 4 either. If I put the decimal out in front, 332 thousandths is really small. It's nowhere near my estimate. So this is how I can place my decimal. It would be 3 32/100. Looking at number 2, again, well, let's start off with our estimate. 3 is a nice round number. I'll leave it as is. 14.2, my greatest place value here would be the 1, but it would be nice just even to have a whole number. This 2 is not big enough to push that 4, so I'm going to go with 14. And 14 times 3 is 42. So I know my answer has to be 42, or near 42. So, going back, I'm just going to drop the decimals. I'm going to take 142 and multiply by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1, and 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. So now my estimate was about 42 up here. So I need to place my decimal somewhere where my number will be close to 42. So putting it in between the 2 and the 6 does that for me, because I get 42.6 for my answer. And to check, I can go back and count that 3 had no digits behind the decimal, and here on the 14 I only had 1. So I only need 1 decimal place in my answer as well. So let's go ahead and try to fill in this diagram together. 9/9500. That 9 will push that 0 to a 1. So 4 times 1 is 4. My answer should be around 4. So we need 4 groups of 9500ths. So let's go ahead and we'll do our math over here this time. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 2 more is 38. Carry the 3, and 4 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. So 9500ths has 2 decimal places, so I need to place the decimal 2 places from the right, or right in here. So is 3.80 close to 4? Yes, it is. So our answer will be 3.80 up here. So let's try one together, and then I'll have you do the work. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore the decimals and take out 25 and multiply by 5. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. And I had 2 digits behind the decimal, so I need 2 digits behind my decimal. And so my answer should be 1.25. Go ahead and try B and C on your own. Pause the recording and then turn it back on when you're ready to see my answers. Alright, on B, I took 447 times 8 and got 3,576. There were 2 digits behind the decimal over here, and there was none over here, so we needed 2 decimal places, so the decimal goes between the 5 and the 7. So 35 and 76/100. Over here, 263 times 9, I get 2,387, but I had 2 decimal places and none over here, so I need 2 decimal places. So my decimal goes between the 3 and the 8. Now, what happens if we do our multiplication and we don't have enough numbers to place the decimal point correctly? Well, then we're going to have to annex zeros, and we're going to put them to the left. If we put them to the right behind the decimal, it doesn't change the place value, so we need them in front. So annex a 0 means to place a 0 at the beginning or the end when we need it. So let's try example number 4 here. I'm going to do the same procedure as before. I'm just going to take out my whole numbers and do 18 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16, and 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. So I know my answer has to be with a 36, but I'm going to go back and count. I need 1, 2, 3 decimal places here, and on the 2 I have none. So I need 1, 2, and I need a third decimal place. So I'm going to fill it with a 0 and protect it with another 0. So my answer will be 36 thousandths. And if I had used the repeated addition, I could have said 18 thousandths plus 18 thousandths. 8 plus 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3. The zeros drop down as well as that decimal. And our answers match. Go ahead and try this one. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 0 is 0. And 4 times 0 again is 0. And I need 3 decimal places because I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So we'd have to annex 1 0, a 0, to make the 3 decimal places. We can also check this with our repeated addition. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 8. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. The zeros would drop in, and as well as the decimal. So how I would have done this, and I'd like you to do this on the side, I would have taken 12 times 4, and we know that's 48. And then I'd have to add. I needed 1, 2, 3 decimal places, and I have 1, 2. So I'm going to add 1 in front, and I'll annex or add that 0 and put the 0 out in front to protect it. So let's try one of these. I would take 3 times 2, and I get 6. And I have no decimal places on the 3, but I have 2 on the second number, so I need 2 decimal places. So I only have 1, so I'm going to annex a 0 and protect it with another one, so 6 hundredths. Go ahead and try E and F and turn on the recording again to see if your work matches mine. So on E, you should have gotten 96 hundredths. 12 times 8 is 96, and I had 1, 2 decimal places, and the 9 and 6 sit at it. So this time I did not have to annex the 0. I just added my decimal out in front of the 9 and added the 0 to protect it. Over on F, I took 45 times 11, and I got 495. I only had 3 decimal places, and I had 3 digits to fill them, so I put the decimal out front and added the 0. So a story problem. A batch of trail mix calls for 1.2 pounds of dry cereal. Nigella is making 5 batches of that trail mix. She already has 2.2 pounds of cereal. How many more pounds of dry cereal will she need? So first we need to find our grand total. This one has 2 steps. So I'm going to take, I need 1.2 or 12 times 5, and I get 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6, but I had 1 decimal place, so I'm going to put it right here between the 6 and the 0, and she already had 2.2 pounds, so I'm going to subtract, and this time, because it's subtraction again, I have to line up my decimals. So I can't take 2 from 0, so I'm going to borrow and make this 5 and this one 10. So 2 from 10 is 8. The decimal drops down, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So she needed 3.8 more pounds of cereal. So practice makes perfect. I would like you to try page 197 through 198, problems 1 through 11 all, and number 16. And if you want to go for the bonus points, go ahead and do all 16. Good luck, and if you're getting stuck, please raise your hand and come and get me.